All right, 2.1 part 2, carrying on here. We're going to talk about functions with domain restrictions. All right, first of all, the domain of a function are the x values that satisfy an equation. All right, so we're going to put domain here. And we've got the x values over here. And we discovered that during the last assignment. We were doing mappings of our relationships. All right, so sometimes functions have restrictions, right? 3 cases. One of the cases is if the function is a fraction. All right, so what that looks like is going to be something like this, like y equals 1 over x. All right, your denominator cannot equal 0, right? So x, in this case, x can't equal 0. So we're going to write that up here on the empty line here. Right? Denominator cannot equal 0. In part B, second case is if the function is an even root, right, like a square root or a fourth root or a sixth root, etc. When this happens, the radicand has to be greater than or equal to 0. That's the thing inside the radical. Okay, so what does that look like? Looks something like this, like y equals the square root of x, or y equals the fourth root of x, right? So x has to be greater than or equal to 0. Okay, and the last thing here, if the function is a combination of the two. All right, if that's the case, then the denominator cannot equal 0, and at the same time, the radicand has to be greater than or equal to 0. All right, so what does that look like? Something like this, like y equals 1 over radical x. There's a combination, all right? You've got a fraction mixed with a radical. All right, so both of these conditions have to take place, and the restrictions. I'm not going to teach any shortcuts. I think some students use a shortcut for this, and I'm just real leery of shortcuts just in case. So until you get really good at it and get tons of practice, don't worry about any shortcuts. We'll just worry about the denominator not equaling 0 and the radicand being greater than or equal to 0. All right, so let's take a look at a few examples of where we can apply these restrictions.